I forgot to feed the algorithm again. It's not something I'm super good at, and I could definitely use some help. I've heard that rating, reviewing, and sharing a podcast are all things that the algorithm really enjoys. So if you have a minute, could you help me out and throw some snackies to the algorithm for me? I would be eternally grateful. I've got to get into the astro weather for the week, so thanks again for helping me feed the algorithm. Last week, I was harping on all the Cazimi action we were seeing, and while Venus, the Sun, and Mars are still traveling dangerously close together, distance is starting to be created. The Cazimi energy last week should have illuminated our desire for hard work and our determination to make something with long-lasting effects come to life. While it's not quite Cazimi level, this week is still going to hold that same amount of grit and get it done type of attitude. Since the Capricorn gang is still traveling close, they're going to continue making the same aspects. If one does it, the other will also do it, has done it, or is in the process of doing it. We saw this happen last week with the oppositions with Jupiter, and that energy is going to follow us into the early parts of this week. So we should be sort of wrapping up Jupiter's end of the whole pragmatism versus intuition ping pong battle. Sunday and Monday will be the last of us feeling the push and pull between Capricorn's work ethic and Cancer's desire for a deeper connection. We know what needs to be done, and we can begin to move on from that. We might get a small reminder come midweek when Mercury catches up to the rest of the Capricorn gang and finally opposes Jupiter, but it won't be nearly as glaring or intense as last week's oppositions were. Mercury's opposition with Jupiter midweek is more of a nudge or a reminder that we need to keep our actions and minds aligned with the goal. The goal is still likely being solidified or reworked because Jupiter is still retrograde. It'll be retrograde until March, so we still have a lot of time to fully understand what it is we're wanting out of the realm of Cancer and how we can best use Jupiter's exalted energy in that area of our life. So again, that opposition with Mercury midweek, it's probably going to come up as some kind of weird roadblock or something that you can't just put your head down and plow through. You can't use hard logic or hard work to just get it over or get it done. You need to push ahead with your progress, but you also need to check in with your internal compass and make sure things are still aligned and going in the direction that feels right. I think I've beat that Capricorn-Cancer opposition to death since the full moon happened. It's been the main source of astrological energy just because there are so many planets in Capricorn at the moment. This will be our last real week with all this Capricorn energy, so keep putting it to good use. I've been organizing and reorganizing and making my processes better. It's a great time to lock in and do all those little things that we typically hate doing. Like I went through my Google Drive and cleared everything out. I finally reorganized some folders on my computer, just getting the house in order a little more. Just any kind of system, because it's fourth house stuff for me, so it's very clerical. I'm very much getting the house in order to start the new year. So wherever it is for you, just use the Capricorn energy to get yourself in order. With the Capricorn gang moving into the latter degrees of Capricorn, they're all going to start aspecting a different placement. The heat is taken off Jupiter and Cancer, but this week we have to contend with Venus, the Sun, Mars, and Mercury all squaring Chiron. Each planet will hit Chiron at varying stages of the week. Like I've been saying, they're traveling together, but they're just staggered enough that each planet hits a square with Chiron on a different day. Venus squares Chiron today, Sunday. The Sun squares Chiron on Monday. Mars squares Chiron on Tuesday. And Mercury squares Chiron on Friday. And for half of the week, Jupiter is still in range with Chiron as well. That's 5 of the 7 traditional planets all squaring Chiron. Very, very cool. Does all this squaring energy mean that our wounds are going to rip open and we're going to psychically bleed out? Maybe. But no, seriously, this week might suck when it comes to our wounds. Consider this week Chiron's crash course in physical therapy. I say it every time, but Chiron in Aries is nothing new. We get it. We're ready to start the next phase of healing. Chiron stationed direct on January 2nd, and now all this Capricorn energy squaring Chiron, it's like a major testing of the wound. I'm framing it as more of a physical therapy because that's what it feels like. Capricorn energy is productive and results-minded. The squares are going to be acting as pressure tests on Chiron's wound. Can you put weight on the wound? Is it healing in the way that you thought? Are there unexpected complications or side effects from the wound that have started to present? We don't know how much we've healed if our wounds stay in isolation or they're constantly being coddled. Capricorn does not coddle. These squares are essential to seeing if we're actually healing as much as we believe we are, or if we're maybe even doing better than we thought we were. Your wound might be tested this week in a way that you surely thought would break you, but it doesn't, or in a way that you thought was going to be easy peasy lemon squeezy, and it was not so lemon squeezy. Don't look at all these squares as something to hide from or as unnecessary hardship. The hardship is necessary to the healing process for our chironic wounds in Aries. For all my people that have natal Chiron in Aries and are in their Chiron returns, look at the natal degree of Chiron and see if it lands in those later degrees. If it does, all this energy will not only be squaring, transiting Chiron, but also your natal Chiron. Be prepared to prove yourself by asserting your will, taking bold action, and being more self-reliant. Even if you're not in your Chiron return or don't have your natal Chiron in Aries, this week will be notable when it comes to the wounds of Chiron in Aries. The realm that Aries rules for you is going to be pushed to see the truth and face reality. Wounds are multifaceted. Healing is not linear. We know that. And each planet is going to bring out different facets of the wound, starting with Venus on Sunday. Venus's square is going to bring up issues around creating harmony and finding balance in relationships or with other people in general. Maybe other people are being combative, or you've been the combative one in the past. Look for ways to smooth out those relationship dynamics, but without losing yourself or fully conceding to what the other person wants. You can stand up for yourself while still caring for other people. Venus's square is a reminder that no matter what the wound is, there needs to be a balance struck between self-reliance and over-compliance. The Sun square on Monday will bring up wounds around ego assertion, willpower, and embracing authenticity. Chiron in Aries has a lot to do with ego assertion and willpower in general because that's just Aries. The Sun is also exalted in Aries, so there's kind of this kinship or understanding there as well. We're looking for healthy ego expression. A few years ago, it was super trendy to kill the ego and be totally egoless. And from a certain spiritual perspective, I get what you're going for, but I don't fully agree with that. What we need is a healthy expression of self, of ego, of vitality, and self-worth. This square might bring out pain that causes you to act from a place of unhealthy ego, which is fine as long as you catch it happening and work to correct it. Mars is square with Chiron on Tuesday, which is Mars's day of the week, will bring out the more power-hungry, angry, bitter, violent, vengeful sides of our wounds, the festering part of our wounds. When a wound festers and goes ignored, it's no good. Mars's square will be the painful dose of truth that we all need. Mars being exalted in Capricorn is only adding fuel to the fire on this one. Losing our cool and acting in haste, it's not going to help us. Just try to remember that when the wound gets spurred, when it feels sour, when it feels hot. The wound of Aries needs to be dealt with swiftly and confidently, but not out of irrational haste and anger. So try to find a cooling salve, something that cools the inflammation down, because the wound is definitely going to get inflamed via Mars's square around Tuesday. So when you feel that happening, when you feel the heat getting kicked up, when you feel the inflammation, reach for something that cools you down, so to speak. The start of the week is really pressure testing Chiron and Aries with those three squares. This energy will die down come the weekend, but that's when Mercury square with Chiron kicks in. So it's like we're being bombarded with this bullshit at the beginning of the week, and then come the end, we're thinking about how we handled it and ruminating on how to maybe do better next time. Mercury square is going to be about speaking up and using our words. If we don't know how to take action to fix the wound, or we took hasty action and made it worse, we can at least use our words to fight our battles and mend any bridges that we may have attempted to burn. I don't want all the squares to feel foreboding or like the week is going to suck. It might. There's always a chance for that. There's always a chance for something to suck. But it'll most likely be a week when we're examining the wound and our actions around it. This is familiar. It is not new. It is not shocking. It would be actually more shocking if we did fly off the handle at this point. Capricorn squares are an opportunity to pressure test, get results, and either continue physical therapy as prescribed or change the length, duration, and type of treatment. By the weekend, Venus will have had enough of being in Capricorn and will ingress into Aquarius. This is the first planet of the Capricorn gang to leave Capricorn, but certainly not the last. Next week, we'll talk about the new moon and also how all the cardinal Earth energy is magically turning into fixed air. Until then, focus on your healing. Focus on standing up for yourself and believing in your capabilities. You're likely a lot stronger than you think at this point. Thank you for tuning into this week's forecast. If you want a more detailed look at what this week's astro weather holds for you personally, go to my website, moonmattersastrology.com, and sign up to receive my zine. You can also find me on Patreon by searching for Moon Matters. The best way to keep up to date with my work or to book a reading with me is to sign up for my mailing list on my website. I'll meet you back here next week. But until next time, later days.